everybody, Wannabe Reviewer here. Welcome back to the Wannabe Podcast, episode 54. And before we begin this week's podcast, I'm not going to say that this is going to be a short episode, because I feel like every time I say it's going to be a short episode, it kind of jinxes it and it ends up being longer than I expect for some reason. However, what I will say is that it might be a shorter episode, and if it really is, there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is that because I'm recording, relatively soon after my last episode that went up really late. Because of that, I feel like you can say it's been kind of a short week, and there's not too much to talk about. At least when it comes to news, I feel like not too much news stories have really occurred since, Sunday when I recorded. So, yeah, if it's a shorter podcast, you know why. But that aside, I still hope that it's still a good podcast. I do still have some news stories that I think are pretty interesting. And, hopefully you guys enjoy this episode. With that out of the way, when it comes to my week, I'm going to start with anime. As I promised last week, I said I was going to go back and I was going to try to catch up on either series that started off a little late this anime season, or series that I didn't really hear about until later, through like recommendations or suggestions, that sort of thing. And sure enough, I'm trying to catch up on those because it seems like this season has a lot of really interesting / good shows. And so yeah, this week I have 3, and hopefully next week, I'll have more. But when it comes to anime that I watch and that I want to talk about, the first one is Psycho Pass 3. And Psycho Pass 3 is the 3rd season of the Psycho Pass series. And yeah, this is kind of hard to talk about if you haven't really watched the anime, because I feel like there's a lot of potential spoilers, even when it comes to characters. So I guess I'll really try to sidestep all that. But basically, what you need to know about the Psycho Pass series, if you haven't seen it before, Psycho Pass takes place in a cyberpunk dystopian future where basically, if you've ever seen the movie Minority Report, where they try to really look at crime before it happens and try to stop it, it's kind of based on that, where basically, there's this omnipresent system in place, and it's always scanning everybody's mental state. And, it's scanning people's mental state, and it has some sort of a assessment that they actually, that's where Psycho Pass comes from. Because I believe, if I remember correctly, a person's psychopath is the results of that assessment, where the system is scanning you and they're looking at your brain and whatever's happening inside you and your subconscious and stuff, and they're trying to calculate how how likely you are to commit a crime, your predisposition to crime. I don't know if I'm explaining it right. But basically, the system is always scanning people all the time. And if someone's likelihood of committing a crime, if it gets too high, then basically that's where the police force comes in and they try to, apprehend you, arrest you or whatever. But if you are being, a little bit violent, or if you're trying to escape or whatever, they can kill you, basically. And part of the police force, that's what we follow in all 3 seasons, the police force is made up of inspectors and enforcers. And enforcers are themselves people who have a really high psychopath crime coefficient or whatever. And basically it's almost a form of keeping them keeping an eye on them, where because their crime coefficient is so high and they're supposed to be, likely of committing crime, that's a way for the police force to keep an eye on them, and they're basically expendable. They throw them out against all these criminals or would-be criminals or whatever. So, each team, there's enforcers, basically they're the expendable one. You can think of them almost as sad to say, but they're almost the police dog. They're the ones who they send to do the dirty work and to stop the criminals and stuff. And the other side of the team is the inspector. And the inspector is, the one that, usually they don't do the dirty work. They're kind of the good cop to the enforcer's bad cop. And part of their job is to keep an eye out on the enforcer. And if they feel that the enforcer is going too far, or they're not following instructions the way they should, then they have permission to kill their partner enforcer or whatever. So yeah, it's I guess it's kind of hard to explain. You really have to watch it so you can see the dynamics of it and how they kind of go about arresting these people, all that good stuff. But it's a really interesting series. The 2nd season isn't very good. Neither is the movie, really. I feel the movie doesn't really have much to do with the anime series itself. But the 1st season is great. And I would say it's one of those anime that I would suggest to anyone, where I think I recommend it to anybody because it's just like really good, really easy to get into, and it's the kind of anime that even if you're not really into anime, I think you'll enjoy it because it's just like so well put together, you know? But that aside, that's to kind of give you an idea of like the setting of Psycho-Pass and like the world of Psycho-Pass. Basically season 3, it's interesting because each episode is actually 5 minutes versus your usual like 23 minutes or whatever. So each episode feels like 2 episodes put together. So even though I've only watched, technically 2 episodes, it feels like I've watched 4 at this point because they're like so long. And yeah, like I'm trying to avoid spoilers and stuff. But basically what I can say is that if you look at the cast of season 1, a lot of stuff happens between season 1 and season 3. So season 3, where it picks up, it's sometime after season 1 and 2. The cast is totally different. And basically we're following 2 rookies who are kind of learning about the system, basically. And so far, I have enjoyed it. I do think it's really interesting being back in this world. Compared to Season 2, which I just thought was really boring, and I felt like too much of a rehash of Season 1, but done weaker. Season 3 so far does have my attention because I think the characters are more interesting, and I do feel like they're doing something a little more different with the story as well. Basically, like I said, it's 2 rookies. It's an enforcer and a inspector, and the enforcer... Oh man, is he the enforcer? Crap, I really hope I'm not mixing it up. Whatever, the point is one of them is kind of straight-laced, taller, handsome guy, very calm, very, whatever. And his partner's kind of shorter, more aloof guy who has this special ability where basically he puts in some headphones, listening to white noise. And when he does, a part of being a detective, they say it's kind of to retrace the steps of the crime, kind of see how it played out in your mind. And basically that's kind of what he literally does. When he puts in the headphones, he's listening to the white noise. It's almost like he's there, and it's almost like he becomes that person almost, and he's seeing how the crime played out. And it's really interesting. I really like how they mess with that power so far. It's really interesting. They haven't really explained the extent of it or why he has this power, but I do think it's really cool to see him pop in the headphones. He's looking at the crime scene. He's kind of feeling and working his way through, how the crime happened or whatever. And yeah, so far, like I said, I'm enjoying it. It's interesting so far. The characters, I like them. I think there's a good dynamic between the 2 main characters. And I'm just interested to see how this connects to the bigger series. Because being the 3rd season, like I said, a lot has happened, and you do kind of see some of the older characters here and there. So I really want to know where the story is going to go. So maybe it's not that well explained. Like I said, it's just kind of difficult because a lot happens and I don't want to spoil anything. But if you like cyberpunk, dystopian futures, if you've ever seen the movie Minority Report, and you think that idea of stopping crime before it happens sounds interesting, then I recommend the show. I think it's, interesting. Like I said, the 1st season, I definitely recommend it. This 3rd season, so far, after these 2, first 2 episodes, I'm enjoying it. So I'll try to maybe cover 1 more episode or 2. We'll see how it goes. But so far, I recommend it. I think it's good. And it seems like it's an interesting follow-up, at least to that 1st season so far. So yeah, there you go. Psycho-Pass 3, I'd say check it out. Let's move on. Moving on, another anime that I checked out. It's called Ascendance of a Bookworm. And Ascendance of a Bookworm, I really like it so far. Basically, it's supposed to be kind of like an isekai anime, but it's very different, which is what I really like. Basically, your typical isekai anime, isekai means stuck in another world. Usually, in recent years, that's come to stand for someone gets transported to some sort of a video game RPG world with dungeons and fighting and leveling up. And, as much as I like video games and I like RPGs, I do feel like it's a little boring that that's the only angle they ever really, cover the series from. But this one, Ascendance of a Bookworm, it's interesting because it has a very unique premise. Basically, in our first episode, and I've watched 3 episodes so far, even though I think there's 6 out. But in the first episode, we learn that there's this. They don't really say how old she is, but it seems like she's kind of a older teenager, maybe young adult. And she apparently had a dream that she wanted to be a librarian because she loved literature and she loved all sorts of books. Unfortunately she dies, and so that dream never comes true. But as she's dying, she says, please, wherever I end up, whatever world I go to next, please let me be surrounded by books and please let me read because it's her passion. And strangely enough, it seems like she's reincarnated into the body of a little girl called Mine. Weird part is, though, she's not really reborn. You think it would start from like, oh, she's reborn in a different world, and then she starts from there. It is kind of awkward how she starts already as like a 5-year-old, and it's like she just like pops into a body one day, and she already has a family that like loves and cares for her, and she doesn't know what's happening. So that's the part that I do think is kind of weird. I don't know why they took that approach. But after that kind of, weird awkwardness, basically what the story's about is that, this woman from a different world, maybe our world, she gets transported to this other world, and she's part of this like struggling family in an era before books were even really a thing. It's supposed to be like, I don't know, it's kind of like not medieval times, but around that time, you know what I mean? Where only nobles can really afford books. All books have to be, copied by hand because they don't really have like a printing press or anything yet. Books are expensive, that sort of thing, like that's what I say. It's kind of, I'm really bad with like eras and stuff, but maybe like pre-Industrial Revolution times, I guess, But basically, she's reincarnated into this world where unfortunately books aren't a common thing and only like really rich people can attain books. And, she's part of this poor family. And so what she sets out to do is that she promises herself that no matter what, she will find a way to make her own books then. And this is where it gets really interesting because not only does it not focus at all on video games, which I think is great, and not only is it interesting that we have this character starting over as like a kid and like their goal is like literature, which I think that's really unique, but it's really interesting seeing how she does have some memories of her like old life, and she's trying to come up with all these ways to make books. And so, like in one episode, for instance, one of her dad's, I guess you can call them co-workers, they're guards for like the castle gate or whatever. He actually does, some primitive writing like on parchment and stuff. And he does have like a little slate, like a little, what would we call it? Like a little wooden slate or whatever, almost like a little like blackboard. And he writes and stuff. And he's actually versed in literature a little bit. And so she asks him for help. And so it's kind of cute because we see her learning the language system, learning about numbers, trying to like, learn how to write and stuff in this new world. Later we see her because she has these memories of like her old life and because she knows about history and stuff. She's trying to think of like, can I make my own, like, can I weave like my own parchments, And so seeing her try to figure out, what if I use this method or that method and I make like my own parchment and I make my own ink and like that sort of stuff. It's really interesting. And not only that, but not only does she have a focus on like literature and books, but she uses her skills to help her family out too. Like she asks her father to make her like a wooden, almost like a crochet needle, I guess you would call it, right? The one that has like a little hook at the end. And she uses that combined with the threads that her mom uses to make clothes. And she uses it to make like these decorations for like her sister's hair. And she uses her knowledge of extracting oil out of like fruits and adding like herbs and stuff to make shampoo. And so I think, like I said, I think it's really interesting because yes, it's an isekai anime. Yes, it's about a protagonist who has like a goal to like make life a little more comfortable and make it more like their other life. But unlike the other series, which all focus on video games and RPGs and stuff like that, it's really interesting to see this person that, they start as like a peasant and they're trying to like make their family's life better. And not only that, but there's this big focus on literature and how her goal is that she will make her own books. And she will make it so that other people, I'm guessing, based on like kind of like the synopsis of the show, so that other people can also enjoy reading. So, very interesting so far. I've really enjoyed it. I've seen only 3 episodes, but I'm already in love with it. And like I said, it's called Ascendance of a Bookworm. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing more of the show. I think it's very charming. I think the main character, like her mannerisms and stuff are very cute. And as someone who does enjoy reading, even though maybe I don't do it as much as I should, as someone who does enjoy literature, I like this angle of someone in another world, trying to get literature to be a thing. Like, I think that's really cool. So yeah, if you're also kind of a bookworm or whatever, I recommend it. I think it's a fun show. There you go. Alrighty, the last show that I want to talk about, and this one is actually another returning one, is High Score Girl 2. Now, I feel like I covered the first season of this quite a while back. I mean, it might have been like during some of my first episodes almost a year ago. I mean, I don't even know, man. I feel like I've covered it. I just don't remember when exactly. But yeah, High Score Girl is back. And for anyone who doesn't know what the show's about, it's this really interesting show that is part romance comedy. You know, because there's a romance between these characters and stuff, which I'll get to in a minute. It's part that, but it's also part love letter to arcade games and fighting games and retro gaming, which is a really interesting mix. So basically, to give a quick recap of what the series is about for anyone who hasn't heard about it, our main character, his name is Haru. I think that's how you say his name, Haru. And he's this kid that he's kind of a slacker, doesn't do too good in school, doesn't really care to study or anything because his passion is video games. And so all the time he spends his days, at arcades playing fighting games. Later we see that, his mom buys him home consoles and stuff. Early stuff though, very early stuff. Like when they eventually get to the PlayStation 1, that's a few years in. So I'm talking really old school, Japanese systems. But anyway, as I was saying, he really loves to play, old school arcade games. And he loves to spend his days at the arcades, beating everybody because he's really good. Until one day he meets his match in the form of a girl called Ono. And Ono, it feels like she doesn't even belong in an arcade because she's this rich girl that she's basically perfect at everything and she always has good grades and she's meant to be I don't know, they're basically priming her to be not an heir of her family, but they want her to be a proper lady and they're teaching her all these different things and like I said, they're always pushing her to have good grades, that sort of thing. But for whatever reason, she loves gaming. And so she also spends her time at the arcade. And our two characters, they have a run-in because Haru basically, scums it out and he beats Ono. And Ono gets so mad about how he he didn't cheat, but he used some underhanded tactics to beat her. And so she gets mad and she punches him. And that's their first ever interaction. But later, because they keep gaming and they both have a passion for it, they strike up a friendship that eventually you can see blossoming into a romance. And at the end of the first season, basically it had to do with there's another girl that enters the mix that she has a crush on Haru, but Haru only really has eyes for Ono. So it's a weird, love triangle where, I mean, it's not really much of a triangle because two people like each other and it's kind of an odd man out, but still she's there. And yeah, it's just a really interesting anime because it has a romance aspect to it. Kind of has that love triangle going, even though, like I said, one of the persons is kind of the third wheel. And it has a lot of throwbacks to retro gaming and stuff. They talk about all these systems, they talk about all these games. They show actual footage of the games, in the series. They talk about tactics and tips for the different games, that sort of thing. And so it's just this fun anime. And sure enough, the second season is back. I only watched 2 episodes so far, but it's just fun. I like it, it's fun to be back in this universe. It's fun to see more of the characters we know and love. And it's just interesting because when the series starts, our characters are in, I want to say someplace in middle school, I always get a little thrown off because Japanese school is different, than other countries. But I believe they're somewhere in middle school. And like I said, you see the relationship between Ono and Haru growing. And we see the romance blossoming. And then we also get the other girl, Hidako, we get her thrown in. But in this second season, it's interesting because everyone's older now. They're all in high school and stuff. And I think they're getting closer to graduating. I think they're already in their second year of high school. And it just becomes interesting that yes, they're still gaming. There's still all this awesome stuff. But we see kind of how the relationships are, I don't know, I mean, they're going places. Because as one of his friends tells him, in the first episode, he kind of tells him, you have to make a move with Ono, are you interested in her or are you not? Do you want to be her boyfriend? What's the deal? And kind of seeing how these characters have to really decide what they want, it's interesting. And it's interesting to just see how their lives are in a state of change or whatever. So I really enjoy High Score. I was about to say High School Girl. I really enjoy High Score Girl Season 2 so far. Like I said, love seeing the return of the characters, love seeing the interactions, love seeing more of gaming and how they, portray all the games and stuff. And yeah, so far I'm enjoying it. So far I think it's a really fun series. And unfortunately, it is one of the ones that's hard to find. I believe it's a Netflix-only exclusive, in Japan. But, I know that recently the first season did find its way to other countries. So as always, if you can find it online, I recommend that. And if not, then if you wait, I guess it eventually will come out. So stay tuned for that, I guess. But I do recommend it. I think it's really good. I'd say keep an eye out for it. Alrighty, finally, the last thing that I want to talk about for my week, and this will be brief because I didn't do much, but what I wanted to mention is that the game that I dived into was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate because of, the new Terry Bogard release. Basically, Terry Bogard, he got picked as the fourth, what would we call it, guest character for the fighter pass. After him, there's supposed to be one left out of this batch of DLC. And Terry Bogard, he's from SNK, he's from, Fatal Fury, King of Fighters, he's been in all sorts of fighting games. And sure enough, I dived back into the game so I could check him out, and I really liked him, honestly. Even though he is very much a fighting game character, similar to Ryu and Ken, I don't know, I just like playing as him much better. I don't know, when it comes to Ryu and Ken, I don't know, maybe it's because they're just a lot of kicks and punches, that sort of thing. But I just like Terry's moves much better. I like his appearance better. He has, he's much more interesting than Ryu, who's just, karate man, in a gi. I like that Terry's much more interesting since he has the jacket on, he has the hat, he has the long hair with the ponytail. I just think he's much more interesting looking. And his moves are just more interesting too, from a bunch of kicks to projectiles to flips and all sorts of stuff. I just think he's more fun to play as. So I enjoyed it. I think Terry's a pretty good character. I love playing as him so far. So, there's that. And also, in case you're wondering what else came out with this batch of DLC, not only did it include Terry, but it included his stage, which is a big arena where a bunch of other SNK characters make appearances. Unfortunately, Mai from also, King of Fighters and stuff, unfortunately, she did not make the cut. Which makes sense, though, because if you've ever looked at Mai from SNK, she basically has everything jiggling and on display. And as Sakurai even said in his little, direct or whatever, I guess that they can't have her because of, the ratings or whatever. But it sucks because, Mai's definitely, another, she's another, big figurehead in SNK. So not having her, that really sucks. But, I guess it is what it is. But, yeah, so you got Terry, you got the stage where you have a bunch of appearances from other characters. There's 50 new songs, which that's a lot. They added some fixes to some of the online stuff. And what else? I want to say that's it. I think that's it for now. But still, just the fact that you have Terry, that you have the stage, and then you have 50 new songs, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's definitely worth your money. And yeah, like I said, not much to say. I just, played around with Terry for a little bit, had fun with that. I didn't try his classic mode yet, but I did do some of his spirit board. That was pretty fun so far. And there you go, I think even if you don't really like Terry Bogard or know anything about SNK, I think if you try him out, I think you'll like him. Like I said, I think he's interesting, and I think he has some pretty interesting moves. So there you go. Alrighty guys, and that does it for my week. As I said at the beginning, I brought some new anime to the table. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Didn't have a chance to really play anything new besides diving into Smash for a bit, but hopefully next week, I know for sure I'm going to have some new anime. I'm definitely trying to catch up on that, and hopefully for next week, I am able to talk about stuff like, I don't know, Death Stranding, or maybe I'll finally dive into Indivisible, which I've been kind of avoiding, but yeah, that's it for this week, but, hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and there definitely is more to come next week, with that out of the way, diving into the news, I only have about, I want to say 4 news stories, but like I said, I still think each of them is kind of worth it in their own way, because I do think they're interesting. For instance, when it comes to the first one, as the title of the article states, No More Heroes 3 is 35 to 45% complete, has a bigger open world than No More Heroes 1. Now, I know that there's at least a few of you out there who also say you're fans of the No More Heroes series, or at least you're interested in it. And yeah, me reading this makes me excited. Hearing that it's like, 35 to 45% done. Sure, it's not a lot, I guess, like it still has a way to go, but the fact that it's this far along after Travis Strikes Again barely came out, and it seemed like they were barely, like, getting ideas off the ground, like, I don't know, I think it's exciting, I'm excited for that. And it's supposed to come out sometime next year, so I think if you think about it, I think they're getting there. I don't know, I'm getting excited, I think it sounds reasonable, so, I don't know, I'm excited. But that aside, as I was saying, it says that it's 35 to 45% done. They talked about how there's going to be a bigger open world. And yeah, if I'm reading like the little bullet points or whatever, Suda51, he said that what he's promising for like the open world, he said it's going to be bigger than the original No More Heroes. And that also there's going to be a lot of like side missions along with some other extras. It says it's something different than your standard minigame. So that's something that I definitely missed about No More Heroes 1 in No More Heroes 2. Even if the open world in No More Heroes 1 wasn't that exciting, in fact there was like a lot to do, I still really enjoyed driving around, doing jobs, driving back and forth between jobs, looking for hidden items and shirts and stuff. I had fun with that. Even if it wasn't like super riveting, I still really liked it. And I'm hoping that Suda has like really learned along the way, in these years. And he says that he promises it'll be bigger. And that it sounds like there's going to be stuff to do, like side quests and, other content and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited. Hopefully it kind of, hopefully this time like there's more to do. I'm excited. And besides that, it says that there's supposed to be a new trailer this year or early next year. They say that the suit that Travis wears in the announcement trailer, you will be able to use it in the final game. It doesn't seem like it'll be like at all times, but the fact that you can use that crazy suit he uses, that sounds really cool. And so yeah, I don't really know what else to say, I just think it sounds exciting. I look forward to it. I don't know how many people are fans of like the other games or whatever, but if you're a fan, I would say read up on it. It seems like there's some good stuff happening and look forward to it, We just have to, wait and see. Alright, moving on. I don't know how many people still play Pokemon Go, but as the title of this next article says, Pokemon Go unleashes next big Team Rocket update. So, Pokemon Go, that was the game that for like a few months, what was it, back in like 2017, maybe 2016, I actually forget when the game came out, for like a few months, everyone was playing it. It felt like the world was united and enjoying it, that sort of thing. But then, shortly after, people kind of got bored of it because, to be fair, there wasn't like a lot of features with the game. But as someone who still dives in, here and there every so often, they are always adding a lot of stuff to the game. Like, you'd be surprised how it looks compared to like when it first launched, And sure enough, not only have they added like a lot of stuff, but they just added more. And, if you read through the article, basically what they've added this time is that they seem to be teasing being able to fight Giovanni, who's actually like he was like the leader of Team Rocket, and basically, you fight him in those games. And here they're kind of teasing you'll be able to fight him. And basically the way it works is that if you fight, grunts around the map, they give you different like parts, and if you put the parts together, it unlocks a like boss fight. And there's 3 different leaders called Cliff, Arlo, and I believe it's Sierra. Where does it say her name? Cliff, Arlo, and Sierra. And basically they seem to be like, really connected to Giovanni. And it's kind of cool because if you fight them, basically you have a chance to catch a shiny legendary shadow Pokemon or whatever. And yeah, it seems to hint that eventually, we're going to be fighting Giovanni. So that's pretty cool. So like I said, I don't know how many people still play it, but I still think that's pretty cool that, they're always updating it. And if you feel like you want to, maybe dust off your copy of Pokemon Go and you want to get back out there, then this is definitely like a reason to do so, I don't know. There's definitely some big stuff happening. So I think that's pretty cool. Moving on, this next one is a weird one. And it's another one of those examples where I feel like they're making a big mistake. And I feel like they're just kind of going against the true spirit of the thing just for the sake of like a reboot or whatever. As the title of the article says, The Mighty Ducks reboot at Disney Plus. Production and plot details revealed. So for anyone who doesn't know, we know Mighty Ducks, awesome film series from the 90s, has to do with Charlie Sheen's brother, Emilio Estevez. He's this drunk driving lawyer who, part of his community service, is putting together this ragtag team of hockey players, and they call themselves the Mighty Ducks. And the series is just this fun underdog movie about these kids playing hockey. And the reboot, unfortunately, it just sounds so different. It says here that the reboot, it says, unlike the original film, the new series will follow a 13-year-old boy and his mom. When the young player gets booted from the Mighty Ducks hockey team, his mom helps assemble a new team, coach, and practice area. And yeah, reading that, I just think it sounds very bad, and it sounds very against, like, the original, you know? Like, the whole point of the original is that everyone was, like, a ragtag team, and it was about how they were kind of, like, poor, and they were, like, coming together, and there was this figure that didn't want to teach them, but along the way, he learns to, like, really, like, he falls in love with these kids, and they're all a team, and they make him a better person, and together they become, like, a good team or whatever, and I don't know, it's like, you can almost say an inspiring story, and it's just a lot of fun. This one, on the other hand, it just sounds weird, because, first of all, the kid gets kicked off the team, which that seems... First of all, like, what did you do to get yourself kicked off? Second of all, that almost sounds like they're trying to make the Mighty Ducks sound like the bad guys, you know, like getting rid of them, so that sounds weird. And it's all about him and his mom and how they're making, like, their own team. That sounds weird. Like, it sounds like a weird angle to take. So, I don't know, man. I don't like the sounds of it. I think it sounds really awkward. It even says farther down that the first one, you know, it's like a quintessential 90s movie. And it says that this one, based on the synopsis, it seems like it's aimed at younger viewers, which that's really lame. I mean, honestly, anyone could enjoy it. This one, it sounds like they're going younger than that, which sounds kind of lame. So, I don't know, guys. All I guess I'm really trying to say is that I like the original Mighty Ducks series. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it has some heart. And I think the movies are just, like, real fun and, like, funny and stuff. And this sounds really iffy. It sounds kind of lame. It sounds like it has nothing to do with, like, the original. And I don't know, it's just one of those things where I don't know why people always want to make reboots that are, like, that different. Like, I get wanting to do something different, but I don't feel like it has to be that different, you know? Like, instead of it being like, oh, he gets kicked out and, you know, his mom is trying to, like, cheer him up by making a new team, why not just make it, there's a kid that wants to play hockey, his mom tries to help him put a team together, and it's a ragtag team like in the original. You know, why all this stuff about getting kicked out? And I don't know. It's just weird to me. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to this. I don't know about any of you guys, but I don't know. I just want to share that story because it just seems it's going to be like a big oof, you know? So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. Moving on to my last news story. This is an interesting one because it's something that I wasn't even really aware of, honestly. Like, I thought the show honestly ended on its own terms. So when I read this, that was really interesting, and it was actually pretty insightful, you know? As the title of the article states, BoJack Horseman was canceled by Netflix, not creators, confirmed. So yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, I talked about how BoJack Horseman Season 6 is going to be its last season, and I actually watched Season 6 Part 1, you know, like a few weeks ago, and Season 6 Part 2 is actually supposed to come out in January, you know, early next year, and honestly, I thought this show was ending because, like, it wanted to. I thought that the creator of the show, this is what he wanted. But yeah, apparently it's really awkward if he says that no. Apparently, if it was up to him, he wanted the show to go on for a couple more years. And he says that, you know, what he planned was he wanted to, like, expand more on the world. He wanted to focus episodes on lesser explored supporting characters. But apparently no. Apparently it says that Netflix told him to wrap it up. Which, yeah, I didn't know that at all. And I mean, the one thing he says that at least he feels happy that Netflix gave him the heads up so he could give the show a proper, you know, ending or whatever. Like, he's wrapping it up at least, you know, the best to his abilities. But yeah, it's really awkward hearing that it got canceled. I had no idea it got canceled. I thought from what I had heard, the show was doing well. So I don't know, I just have a lot of mixed feelings about that. Like, on the one hand, I am happy that that Netflix gave the guy the heads up. I'm happy that the creator of BoJack Horseman, at least he is trying his best to give it a proper ending. I think that's really good. Some shows don't get even that. But on the other hand, it's just really disappointing because the fact that the show was meant to go on for a little longer, and the fact that we're not going to get, like he said, more of this world and like lesser supporting characters and stuff, that sucks. And it also sucks that Netflix cancel the show. Like, why would you cancel a show that's doing so good? Like, that's really lame. And I feel like they did it because, I don't know, I feel like it's one of those things where Netflix just does weird decisions, and sometimes they go with some really crappy, like, they just go by metrics, or they go like where the money is, and I think they're just making room for like really awkward / cringy decisions. So I don't know, I just kind of, it surprises me, and I'm really disappointed. And it makes sense now why there was such delays between the seasons, because I guess the guy was trying to figure out like what to like do with the show. And at least it sounds like it is going to have its proper ending or whatever. It sounds like he is concluding it to the best of his abilities, or at least there's that. So yeah, I don't know, just interesting read. Links in the description below if you guys want to read more about it. I don't know, at least, we got what we got, I guess. So there you go. Alrighty guys, and that basically does it for this week's news. As usual, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, even if it was a bit on the shorter side. Hopefully there was something that you guys found interesting, entertaining, educational, that sort of thing. But that aside, I want to move on to the last segment of the podcast, which is the Content Creator Spotlight. The content creator that I want to, spotlight, it's a music channel called TeeJay The Gamer. And TeeJay The Gamer, currently sitting at 268 subscribers. He's this awesome guy that does all sorts of video game music. Yeah, part of what he does, one half of it, he does remixes. Where basically, whether it's Undertale or Mario or Persona or Mega Man or Street Fighter, he takes all sorts of songs and he remixes them in his own way, which I think is awesome. I think it's really like fun and really catchy. There's some that honestly I would say they're practically better than the original. Like when it comes to the Mega Man one that I'm looking at, I believe it was X versus Zero from like about a week ago. That one was awesome because he slows down the song in his remix, and I think it honestly sounds better than the original. So I'm telling you, this is like one talented guy. His remixes are awesome. And even the way he presents them, I think is really fun. Basically, he starts with some sort of like a clip, usually of the video game, that's from the song he's going to cover. And usually he has like a clip, he has the song playing, and then he kind of transitions over to like further footage with his remix on top of it. And so I think it's really fun. I think it's a fun presentation. So an example would be, when he did, Ballad of the Windfish from, Link's Awakening, the remake, he shows footage of, Link when he's playing all the instruments or whatever, and he has like the original version. And then, when his remix kicks in, he has his remix with footage of the game. So like, I think that's really fun. So yeah, his remixes are good. I think that alone makes him awesome. However, the other half of what he does is that he makes his own raps. And in his own raps, not only are they catchy, not only is the music really good, but he makes all sorts of references to like video games and anime. And yeah, like in a single song, even if it's like 4 minutes or like less, he probably makes like easily like 30 references, which is like, man, the fact that he like makes it work and he makes, he inserts them so naturally is really awesome. So yeah, guys, TeeJay The Gamer, currently sitting at 268 subscribers. I definitely think he deserves way more. I think his remixes are awesome. I think that his original like raps that he puts together are also awesome. And all around, he just seems like a really cool guy. So my content creator for this week, TeeJay The Gamer, I think he's awesome. I think everybody should check him out. TeeJay, if you're listening to this, love your content. Even though I haven't been following you for too long, I've fallen in love with your stuff. I'm always looking forward to what else you're going to remix or, what new rap you're going to put together that has, all sorts of new references and stuff. I've grown really excited for your work. So keep up the good work, man. Even though you only have 268 subscribers, I think you deserve way more. And yeah, dude, I just wish you the best. I hope your YouTube channel continues to grow. As for anyone else listening, as I said, TeeJay The Gamer, his channel's awesome. His music's awesome. I would say go check him out. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, if you check him out, let him, the Wannabe reviewer, sent you. So there you go. Alrighty guys, and with that being said, that brings us to the end of another podcast. That is one more in the bag. In the end, I haven't really checked the time yet, so will it be shorter than usual? I don't know. Maybe it will, because I had less news stories. But then again, sometimes I when I'm explaining different anime and stuff, and I kind of go in depth, sometimes it ends up being a little longer than I think it's going to be. So yeah, it'll be interesting at the end, when I finish recording this, to look at the time and see how long it was, But that aside, hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully there was something that you guys enjoyed out of it, whether it was me talking about new anime, me introducing you to TeeJay The Gamer, or, just me giving, one of my 4 news stories. Hopefully you found one of them interesting or whatever. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully there was something that you guys felt made it worth listening to. And I'm trying to get back to my regular stuff on my channel. Earlier this week, I put out a review of El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, which I wanted to do since the movie came out, but I was just really busy, didn't get around to it. I think the rest of the month will probably be like that, where I'm going to be trying to catch up on stuff that I might have missed in October, and didn't review. So, look forward to that sort of thing. And yeah, guys, with that being said, I'll try my best to be back here for episode 55 next week. I hope that until then, you guys have a wonderful week. My name is Mai Wannabe Reviewer, and I'll see you guys next time.